Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to a very early test build of Phoenix Point. Some of you may have heard of it, most of you probably haven't, but if I was to tell you that Phoenix Point was being developed by Julian Gollop, the creator of the original Laser Squad back in 1988, from which he developed UFO, Enemy Unknown, which was the basis of the entire XCOM series of games, you might start to get just a teeny little bit excited. Now, this is by no means a finished game. There are many bugs, some of which I encountered during play sessions. There is no faction system, there is no base building, there is no technological research. None of that is in the game yet, although some of the foundations for it are. All we can really do at the moment is view the world. This is known as the strategic layer, it's what's referred to as the Geo Scape in the XCOM games, and take part in some limited ground skirmishes with our troops. The basic idea is that the Earth has been invaded by monstrous aliens, and in the finest traditions of XCOM and UFO, you're fighting back. Some of the key differences in Phoenix Point, however, compared to XCOM and UFO, are that your troops are actually very hard to kill, although they're very easy to injure, and they can suffer a wide range of psychological traumas. There's almost a sort of H.P. Lovecraft feel to the various different enemies that you're going to fight. But for now, let's just take a look at the Geoscape. You have one base, one interceptor, and a very limited fuel range indicated by the orange circle on the map. You can see that some of the question marks indicating locations that we haven't yet explored have a dotted circle around them. This means that we have enough fuel to get there, but we don't have enough fuel to get back. At least not without an emergency refueling, which is going to cost us supplies. And we're going to need those supplies for building things like refueling stations to extend the operational range of our Manticore interceptor, and therefore the range at which we can deploy troops. Speaking of our troops, here they are. Now, in this extremely early build of the game, there's a very limited amount of things that you can actually do on the roster screen, but we can at least take a look at them. This is Charlotte Beck. She's a heavy weapons specialist. She carries a very heavy machine gun. She's got a missile launcher mounted on her back, and she's also equipped with some kind of jump pack. Our next trooper, as you can tell just by looking at her, is obviously a sniper. Then we have some kind of medical specialist. And finally, I'm not entirely sure what the hell this is, but they're very impressive in combat. Some kind of engineer. They can deploy a turret. They're armed with a personal defense weapon, and that contraption on the back is absolutely deadly in melee combat. Anyway, let's get back to the Geoscape and see if we can't find somewhere interesting to investigate in our Manticore interceptor, and hopefully find something to shoot at. So, we found a couple of forts occupied by one faction, and this faction appears to like us enough that they're going to allow us to build a refueling station here, so that's dramatically extended the operational range of our Manticore. Haven't found anything to fight yet, but I'm sure that's just a matter of time. By the way, that red circle that you can see on the map, that indicates an area that's basically infested with alien activity, and any encounters within the borders of that red circle are going to be significantly harder. Of course, they're also likely to return significantly better loot. Still haven't found anything to shoot at, and we're starting to run a little low on fuel. Might be a good idea to head back to a refueling station while it's still in range, top off the Manticore's fuel tanks, and continue our search. I should point out, of course, once again, very early build of the game. In the final release, there's undoubtedly going to be a huge range of other things that you can do, other than just flying around from unidentified point to unidentified point, waiting for something to happen. Like, for example, so far nothing. Okay, let's head back to base and refuel here, and then start investigating. Oh, here we go. We found a scavenging site. Eliminate all hostile forces to claim all of the contents of the various different crates, or just collect what you want, and then get out. Right, time to start shooting things. At the moment, as you'd expect, there aren't a huge range of different types of enemies for us to fight. Although the ones that they do have are pretty impressive. So, this is a scavenging site. Now, we can either kill all of the enemy forces here, in which case we automatically collect the contents of all of these loot crates, or during the course of the skirmish you can loot the crates manually, and then if the enemy forces are proving too tough, you can just retreat to the evacuation point and get out of there with your squad intact and whatever loot you've managed to recover. These points on the map indicate the areas from which the alien forces are likely to be spawning, in addition to whatever enemy forces are already present on the map. Now, there are a couple of things that I'm going to be drawing your attention to as we progress through this encounter. I'll put everybody into Overwatch and enemy phase. First alien spotted. Sniper scored a hit, damaged the torso, and the enemy is now bleeding. It's only got one stack of bleeding, so it's going to continue to lose 1 point of health every turn for as long as the bleed continues, and you'll note that it deployed a shield. So that shield now renders it 100% immune to any attacks from the front. Not even the sniper rifle can penetrate its armour now. So attacking it from the front is now completely pointless. If I'm going to kill that thing, I'm going to need to work around the flanks or hit it with an area effect weapon, like a missile or a grenade. Next up, I'm not entirely sure what it is. We're going to call it an engineer, and we're going to deploy a turret. Now, he's got shots at this thing, but as I'm learning the hard way, any shots at I think these things are called man crabs, once they've deployed that shield, any shots from the front, not going to do any damage. Next up, we've got our specialist. You'll note that as I'm moving the cursor around to pick a spot to move to, there's a sort of red trace pointing towards any target that you will be able to shoot at from the location that you're going to move to. And even though it's going to do absolutely no damage, because the man crab has its shield up, I can at least demonstrate the special ability that the trooper is using here. Take 3 burst shots at a target with absolutely no action cost. Since that didn't do anything, I'm putting the specialist into Overwatch, because here's the thing about the man crabs: they can't move while they've got their shield deployed. If they want to close to melee range and actually do any damage, they're going to have to drop the shield. So I can kill it when it moves with Overwatch fire in its own turn, which is coming up now. Now, if you pay attention to the sound in the background, you can often get some clues as to what's actually going on. This guy's just deployed a shield. This guy now has to drop his shield in order to advance, which makes him an easy kill. None of these man crabs, at the moment, have any kind of ranged attack. And this is the other special thing about Phoenix Point. You see, at first I wasn't entirely sure whether or not I wasn't doing any damage to these things because I was just missing them. And it took me a while, but eventually I figured out that when these guys are stationary and they've got that shield up, you can't do any damage to them from the front. And so I evolved the tactic of putting the troops on Overwatch and waiting for them to drop the shield and come to me. And it's a very successful tactic. Right now. But this is the thing about the enemies in Phoenix Point. They adapt to your tactics. It doesn't happen instantly, but between missions. If you've been using one particular tactic, as I have been doing here, or as I'm about to start doing with the man crabs, they'll learn from that, and they will mutate and evolve to counter the tactics that you've been using against them. The enemies won't keep using the same tactics if they don't work. If they figure out that simply standing there, immobile with a shield up, deflecting your shots, isn't actually getting them any results, because the second they drop the shield to close in and melee you just gets them killed, then they will evolve, for example, perhaps some kind of ranged weapon that they can use against you. Or perhaps, and I'm just guessing here, some kind of mobile cover shield that they can advance while under fire and still covered by their shield. Now, of course, there's no such thing as a free lunch. It has to have some kind of drawback. So, for example, maybe it would cut down on their movement speed, which would then make them more vulnerable to being outflanked. So you would have to evolve your tactics in order to counter the tactics that the aliens have evolved in order to counter your tactics. And that would work for a limited period of time until they came up with another mutation to counter your new tactics. So, you know, your head starts to hurt after a while when you're thinking about all the ramifications. And this, of course, is just one particular species of alien, the man crab. There are going to be a huge different number of alien types, all with different abilities, all of which can evolve, mutate, and adapt to the tactics that you use against them. Here I've finally figured out that I'm just not doing any damage. It's not my lousy shooting, it's the cover shield that these buggers are deploying. So, well, a missile seems to work. And well, he's dead. He's now got 3 stacks of bleeding on him, and he's only got 1 hit point left, so I no longer need to actually shoot at that guy. I can just wait for him to die in his own turn. Now, at the moment, none of my troops have taken any damage. Don't worry, they're going to. Of course they're going to, this is me. I'm crap. But that also allows me to draw your attention to some of the peculiarities of the damage system, which are actually quite clever. But right now, what the hell is that? I have absolutely no idea, but it's got a huge amount of health. It doesn't appear to be particularly mobile, and it seems to be generating a field of stuff. I don't know what the stuff is, but it's probably nothing good. My specialist can't shoot it from where he is, but we can get a grenade in there. Fire in the hole. Took some damage. Who's next? Oh, well, that's the end of my turn. And the man crab that we hit with a missile earlier has just bled to death, so that's good. Ah, another man crab. Wait, no, he's deployed a shield, so he's immobile. Okay. And we've got a turret ready to cover him if he moves. This one, however, came out of nowhere. Nobody was able to react in time, and he's got himself a melee attack on the medic. And has done a fair old amount of damage. The medic reacts and inflicts some damage in return. Any further alien activity? Some. So there's something else still out there. Don't know what. Pretty soon it's going to be my turn. Now, I was kind of lucky there in that the melee damage didn't actually inflict any location damage on my medical specialist. It didn't, for example, there we go, took care of that man crab. The damage that he took was just to his general health pool, which is basically torso damage. It didn't, for example, hit him in the arm. If it had done, it would have disabled the arm, and he would no longer have been able to use his assault rifle. He would have had to switch to a sidearm. I'm going to take care of this man crab using the engineer's melee ability, which is very, very impressive. I first have to actually switch to the melee weapon, Jingles. You're not going to find it down there on the abilities associated with his personal defense weapon, but here it is. This does a lot of damage, and assuming the target survives, it also stuns the target. Yeah, you like that, don't you, bitch? Right, back to this, whatever the hell it is. Wait, it's preparing. What's it preparing? I don't know what it's preparing, and I am in no rush to find out because it's guaranteed to be nothing good. I'm going to move the engineer out of the way. The sniper's going to pop out. If I hadn't had to move the sniper, I would have been able to take 2 shots. But I did, so I can only take 1 shot. I do a lot of damage though. Nice. Now I really need to finish that thing off before it finishes preparing whatever the hell it's preparing. And it looks like... oh, medic. Yeah, this should do. He isn't moving, so I am able to take 2 shots. But it's only going to take 1. So whatever the hell it is, and whatever the hell it was preparing, I no longer have to worry about. Now, I did talk briefly about damage or hit locations, but I haven't really given you a good example of that yet. So, we're going to use the medic to heal himself up. And then we're going to overextend with our engineer and get ourselves into a whole bunch of trouble. Well, shit. Okay. What am I going to do here? You know what? I think I'm going to run away. I think running away is definitely the thing to do here. There is no way the engineer can fight that lot off and nobody else has a shot. So, yeah. Running away and putting everybody else into Overwatch and just waiting for whatever to come around the corner and fill them full of holes, I think is probably the best idea under the circumstances. So everybody's on Overwatch. Here they come. Get some. Get some more. Now, observe the hit location damage. Pincer destroyed. Did you see that? As well as the various different broken body parts, the final shot from the sniper actually destroyed equipment. And the equipment, in the case of these man crabs, was the pincer. So I found myself sitting here thinking, well, he's right next to the medic. Why isn't he stomping the medic's guts all over the ground? He can't. We've just destroyed his weapons. Remember, kids, if you can't be good, be lucky. None of this, of course, is coming as a surprise to anybody who's watched any of my XCOM 2 playthrough videos. That was incredibly lucky. If not for that lucky disabling shot from the sniper, the medic would be getting his guts stomped all over the ground right now. Now, remember, of course, this works both ways. What you do to them, they can do to you. The example that I mentioned earlier, taking a hit on the arm, which disables the arm, and therefore means that you can't use a weapon that requires the use of two arms, like your assault rifle you're about to see demonstrated here. For some reason, they do seem to like going for the medic first. And my medic now has a broken arm. And that's going to be quite a significant problem, because he doesn't have a sidearm. He doesn't actually have a pistol, unless I loot one in the mission. The only thing the medic can now actually defend himself with is his grenade, which I've now just transferred into his non-disabled arm. I keep thinking about the possibilities that this game could have, and I do start to get very, very excited. Not least of which because, of course, it's from the mind of Julian Gollop, the guy who invented, or practically invented, this entire genre, with Laser Squad back in 1988, and then refined and perfected it with UFO, Enemy Unknown, and XCOM. The game's obviously still in a very early phase of development. They still haven't introduced the faction system, the research system, the technology system, the diplomacy system, but all that is scheduled for future content updates. And if you're interested in the game and you want to support the development, you can pre-order a copy from the Phoenix Point website at the link down below in the video description. Prices ranging from as little as $30, which I think is an entirely reasonable price for a game of this pedigree. I'd like to thank everybody who alerted me to the fact that this game was even in development in the first place. And you can rest assured that as they continue to introduce new features and expand on the basics that you've seen here, I will be covering the development of this game in future videos. In the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this preview of Phoenix Point from Julian Gollop, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.